Welcome to the Mr. Skin Podcast, your weekly dose of what's new and what's nude in movies, TV, and Hollywood's sexiest stars. Now get ready for your host, the world's foremost authority on celebrity nudity, Mr. Skin.
Legendary Mr. Skin.
Dude, Mr. Skin.
MrSkin.com.
Skin, everybody.
Coast to coast from Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, it's the Mr. Skin Podcast with your hosts, Mr. Skin and Andrea Lowell. We want to hear from you. Call the show and leave us a voicemail at 484-SKIN-POD. Find all things Mr. Skin Podcast online at MrSkinPodcast.com.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Mr. Skin Podcast. I'm Andrea, and today's show is less of a rundown of the hottest boobs and butts, but more of a special announcement. Hey Mr. Skin, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, hey Andrea. Yeah, this is our first podcast of 2020, and you know, it's funny. Now, I've told Andrea about this prior to this announcement, but I wanted to share it with the audience. I'm not just dropping this on Andrea, but you're going to hear less of us. The podcast is not going away, but we're going to start doing the podcast more for special occasions. And the big reason for that is that we're producing a lot of our own content here at Mr. Skin. Really good stuff, by the way. If you haven't seen me as Mr. Skin Claws animated at the website
I have not seen that. Going now.
Please go check it out. It's really good. It's going viral. Very cool. But anyway, we're still going to do the podcast, but I'm going to save it more for special occasions. For instance, our next one we're going to do is, you know, the Oscars are early this year. So the week the Oscars are in early February, we're going to do that week a Anatomy Awards podcast, for instance. We'll definitely be doing maybe a Whack It Bracket podcast for the March Madness. We'll do a top 10 nude scenes of the year, that type of thing. But instead of doing a weekly podcast like we've done for 183 straight weeks.
Wow.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
We're going to go to more special occasions, and I think that's a smart play. And I just wanted to thank, you know, everyone that listens to this on a weekly basis. I really appreciate it, but I hope you understand. And by the way, we'll have some really cool content to see at MrSkin.com. That is to see versus to hear, like the podcast. But we're not going away, right, Andrew? We'll still be we'll still be there for the big moments during the year.
Yeah, it's like there's so many moments of nudity each week, you know, on TV, on all the streaming sources, which is insane to keep up with. And of course, movies. And you guys have a lot of work to do just on the MrSkin.com website itself and keeping all that updated, looking fresh, looking amazing. And I'm looking on the site right now. I can't find the Mr. Skin Claw, so you might want to send me that link.
Yeah,
but
I'll send you that.
You know, it's a lot of work. And I know it might not seem like a lot of work to people who have no idea how to do a podcast, but it really is. And the site takes precedent over everything because that is Mr. Skin.
100%. And I'm really proud of the production stuff we're doing here. And CP, you know, our executive producer for this podcast, you know, like you said, it sounds like, you're just doing a podcast, but he's got to sync up you in LA, me in Chicago, my great writer, Mike McPadden, and I'm going to bring these guys on real quick to say goodbye. But, yeah, it's a lot of work for him, and he's running my production department here at Mr. Skin. So I just decided that heading into 2020, instead of doing this on a weekly basis, we'll just do it for special occasions. And but I also wanted to let people know I just didn't want all of a sudden they'd come to the website and the podcast wouldn't be there. I want you to know that we haven't gone away. It's just going to be for special occasions only. So
because we enjoy doing it. We love it. You know, you can hear the excitement in mine and Skin's voice every week when we're talking about these hot naked bodies and the lighting and the level of celebrity. It's just that we're going to save it for when it's really, truly special because of the production value.
100%. I should mention, I wanted to say thank you to you for being with me. You know, remember when Jimmy Fallon was with us at the beginning? And
was thinking about him the other week,
Yeah, and great guy, but he ended up doing some stuff with Fox News, and it morphed into just you and I. But the big thing with you is I tell people this all the time when they ask me about the podcast. You know, I've been on, thousands of radio shows through the years, and I used to go with you and Kevin Kline and other hosts over at Playboy on a weekly basis. Mm-hmm. And for many years in the 2000s, I loved coming on your show. And I always said that I just thought you had such a special talent on the radio. You were so good, so fun, and it's been so much fun to work with you on a weekly basis. We're still going to work together, but I said when someone told me, way back when I started this, 2017, that you should do a podcast. The first person I thought of, well, if I'm going to do one, I'd only do it if Andrea wanted to do it. And you luckily agreed to do it, and I really appreciate it. And, I want to say thank you for all that time looking at boobs with me, but also making it super fun. And I do appreciate it. And it's kind of sad in one sense, but we'll still work together on a lot of things, and we'll always be good friends and of course, and all of that. But again, I want to say thank you so much for making this really fun for me, the weekly podcast.
Absolutely. And I remember when you asked me, my question was my answer was a resounding yes, because I feel the same way about you. If I'm going to be committed to, a weekly gig with someone, it has to be someone who, one, I enjoy what we're talking about, two, is fun, has a great personality I can vibe with, and that's you. So my answer was always a big yes. And as you know, huge fan of the website. And I love the fact that you've taught me so much each week. There's something I don't know. I think I'm like the almanac of nudity. But no, skin is, and I learn about new shows to watch, new movies I need to rent, and all sorts of other things. So thank you so much for your input into my life as well. I think it's a very mutual relationship.
Yeah, and think about it. Like we even got to do, we got to go on Bravo together.
Oh my gosh, we've been to Croatia together.
We were to Croatia on what's that show called again?
Below Deck. We've been to Vegas.
No, I'm just kidding. Below Deck.
Times.
By the way, my wife still watches it all the time. Do you watch Below Deck still?
You know what? I don't, just because there's too much other good shows for me to watch right now. I've kind of given Bravo a backseat to the more, disturbing stuff.
Yeah. No, I got you.
I go in waves. Sometimes I need that, just give me some mindless entertainment. Or sometimes I want to be just floored with how horrible something is.
It was funny because, a couple of years ago, they asked me through a PR person to be on, Below Deck. And I had never even heard of the show. Yeah. And then somebody that worked for me said, oh my God, that's a really popular show. You got to check it out. So
super popular.
We looked into it, but I said, listen, if I go on that damn show and go on that cruise, I wanted to make sure that Andrea was there. And that was so much fun. And do you get I'll just be at dinner and I'll get a text like, oh, you're on Below Deck right now. Like they play that over and over. It's crazy how often that airs.
Message. Yeah. And it's I think it's people seeing it for the first time too. So I don't know what loop this is playing on. Maybe it's on some streaming services. I'm not certain, or it's just reruns. But yeah, I do every once in a blue moon get those texts.
Yeah. No, it's really funny. And and I think, and they've only had 3 or 4 seasons. So whenever they're going to start a new season, they just play literally on a loop all their other seasons. And I think we were on the 2nd season, if I'm not mistaken. But it was really, that was a great experience. And I actually was dreading it because that's just not my thing. Being on a reality show was not something I wasn't. It's just not my personality.
You're
wasn't
not
something
an egomaniac narcissist who wants screen time, Skin. Me, on the other hand,
definitely am not.
Film me.
Yeah, and you were kind enough to go topless on the show, though they didn't. They can't show it, but
they showed my butt. That was nice.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, check it out. It's you can see Andrea at MrSkin.com. Her whole career chronicled here. But listen, before I go, I did want to call in CP, my EP, who has worked so hard on this podcast and also is in charge of the Wheel of Skin, which is a very heavy wheel that he has to spin each week. Yeah, it's so big. And also Mike McBeardo-McPadden, my head writer for the podcast, who helps me not only prepare for each week, but we are chatting during the podcast. And he's such a great great writer with great ideas, and wanted to bring both you guys on. So again, CP and Mick P, thanks so much, guys, for being a part of this. For 183 episodes.
Yeah, it's been great. We had some good times. Went to AVN.
Oh yeah, we went
a few times.
Yeah,
and met some cam girls and porn stars for the podcast. And,
yeah.
I didn't go to AVN, but I did see some cam girls and porn stars while you guys were away.
Right.
Just here in Chicago.
Yeah. No, that's great. And McP, tell them about your books, because I want to give you a shout out on that, because I am
thank you.
McP was my head writer here at MrSkin.com for 12 years?
11 years, I believe.
Was it 11 years? Yeah. And we're still really good friends. And whenever I have let's say I'm doing an interview for a magazine or going on some sort of something outside of my comfort zone, I always confide in him, and we talk. And he's
if you
just
get a really weird
he's brilliant.
email from a customer.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But tell him about your
most recent book is Teen Movie Hell: A Crucible of Coming of Age Films from comedies from Animal House to Zapped. Which we did a couple of special edition podcasts celebrating. So this is sort of the history of 80s teen sex comedies, dipping back into the 70s cheerleader movies and into the early 90s.
Right up my alley, too.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy metal movies was the previous book. Self-explanatory. Full of also great nudity, as heavy metal and hard rock music frequently is. And that's where I'm at.
What's your Twitter and Facebook so people could follow you? Because I love following your social media, because you're such a great writer.
Thank you. Facebook is just /McBeardo, and Twitter is at Mike McBeardo.
Yeah, so definitely check it out.
And I'll announce here
highly
that
recommend.
with the Mr. Skin podcast taking a siesta, I'll be launching my own podcast.
Ooh, tell us about that, Mike.
It'll be with Mr. Aaron Lee, with whom I did the audio commentary for Private School, a Mr. Skin classic, the Blu-ray.
Phoebe Cates, yes.
Aaron is an executive producer at Family Guy and a top-notch Hollywood talent. And 25 years ago, he worked at Hustler, and now he's a major producer with the Fox Network, and I do what I do for Mr. Skin, and we're both very happy with that.
Yeah, I can't wait for that I cannot wait for that podcast.
Is going to be called Thriller, a Cruel Podcast, which is a play on the Swedish film Thriller, a Cruel Picture. And we're going to be talking about, just wacky movies. The first episode, because Aaron and I both worked at Hustler, first episode will be looking at 4 movies set at porno magazines. So The People versus Larry Flint, and The Love God, ? With Don Knotts being the top double feature here. From 1968. That's where he played a porno magazine editor. This is transition from Barney Fife to Mr. Furley, clearly.
Yeah, I am so in. I can't wait for your podcast. So I will be there, and trust me, it's going to be great. And Aaron's a hilarious guy too, so it's going to be really good. And CP, tell real quick some of the production stuff that's going on at Mr. Skin in 2020 that people could be excited about, and also tell them about what we did for Christmas if you hadn't seen it yet. It was really funny. We did a really awesome video. I'm really proud of the. Night Before Skinmas, with Mr. Skin's twist on the classic story. Sitting in front of a fireplace with animation and titties. It was awesome. Yeah,
very naughty Santa Claus stars in the video. Yeah. Apparently Santa Claus really enjoys the content at Mr. Skin as well as everyone else.
Yeah, he has a North Pole. Yeah.
Yes. It's not just his nose that's red.
Yeah, we're got a bunch of things in the pipeline. We got a bunch of videos ramping up videos that we already do, top 5s, Mr. Skin Minute.
We're doing more, and that's the other thing too. We're doing. It used to be I was doing one Mr. Skin Minute a week, and they actually are very popular at our website. They get a lot of downloads. We get a lot of traffic. So we've upped it to 2 Mr. Skin minutes a week. And I know it sounds, Andrea, like it's a minute, but the amount of writing, production, the whole thing that goes in, and then you got to like sync up the nudity to what we're talking about. It's actually a lot of work, and it's a big reason. Like that, and a bunch of other things is a big reason. We said, you know what, we just can't do this on a weekly basis. We got to focus on that, but we'll still be around, and like I said, we'll still do the podcast, just not on a weekly basis.
Right. Now, Skin, is your Twitter back up and running?
Yes.
Okay. Because people always ask me, and I'm like, I don't know. I think it might. I'm not sure. Okay, so good. People can keep up with you there too.
Yeah. What is it, Mr. Skin Celebs?
Yes.
So it's at Mr. Skin Celebs. You could get our Twitter, and
just stay up to date.
We had an incident at the beginning of the year that we had to change it from at Mr. Skin.
Sorry, it's actually Mr. Skin Celeb.
Celeb. Yes.
Oh Lord,
Mr. Skin Celeb. So
incident that will live in skin for me.
There was a skincident. You're right. So. Anyway, we had to switch handles, but we've been growing it, and our social media team does a great job. If you haven't seen it, and
all right, follow
make
me
sure
now.
Make sure you follow. But anyway, so like I said, I didn't want to just drop the show like people come and didn't know what was going on.
Exactly.
So the reason for today's podcast was just to give everyone a heads up, and it's not farewell. It's talk to you in February when we do our 21st annual Anatomy Awards, and I'm looking forward to it. And again, I wanted to thank not only all of you guys for being a part of this, but also to everyone who listened on a weekly basis for 183 weeks. And like I said, you'll hear us again in February. So just wanted to say goodbye and talk to everyone right after the Oscars for our Anatomy Awards.
Oh, sounds good to me, and I feel the same way. We'll see all of you guys soon, and like Skin said, it's not goodbye, it's talk later.
All right, take care, everyone. Talk in February.
Thanks, Skin.
You got it.
This concludes another scintillating episode of the Mr. Skin Podcast. Subscribe to the Mr. Skin Podcast in iTunes and never miss a show. Thanks for listening.